The family court was assembled in my grandfather's imposing wood-paneled study. It wasn't a real court, but it felt more terrifying. My grandfather, the formidable patriarch of our family, sat behind his massive desk, his face a mask of grim disappointment. My brother, Ethan, and his wife Laura sat to one side, looking like the perfect wronged victims. I sat alone, the accused. A priceless family heirloom, my grandmother's diamond necklace, had gone missing, and Laura, my sister-in-law, had found it hidden in my apartment. She had cried. She had expressed her shock and sorrow, and she had painted me as a desperate, jealous thief. They were about to formally disown me, to cast me out of the family forever. They thought this was the final act of my public humiliation. They had no idea I wasn't the one on trial. She was. And the evidence for her conviction wasn't in my apartment. It was in a secret audio file on my phone. Laura had hated me from the day I met my brother. I was a quiet, independent artist who had built a small but successful career on my own terms. She was a social climber who had married into our wealthy family and saw me as a rival for my grandfather's affection and, more importantly, his fortune. She saw my quiet nature as weakness and my independence as a threat. Her campaign to discredit me was a masterpiece of subtle sabotage. She would lose important mail I had sent to our grandfather. She would twist my words in conversations, making me sound ungrateful and resentful. The stolen necklace was her grand finale, a move so audacious she thought it was foolproof. The theft was perfectly staged. The necklace disappeared during a family dinner at my grandfather's estate. A week later, during a surprise visit to my apartment with my brother, she discovered it tucked away in my jewelry box. Ethan, a man completely blinded by his wife's manipulative genius, was horrified. My grandfather was heartbroken. He refused to call the police, wanting to handle this shameful family matter internally. He convened the family court. But Laura had made one critical mistake. She underestimated me. She thought I was a naive artist. I didn't know that my art involved intricate sound installations. For years, I had carried a small, high-fidelity audio recorder disguised as a vintage fountain pen to capture ambient sounds for my work. It was always on, a habit of my trade, and it had been on during a conversation we'd had 2 weeks before the necklace even went missing. I had gone to her, trying to broker peace. I told her I knew she disliked me and I wanted to understand why. She had just laughed, her voice dripping with venom. Thinking we were alone, she had laid out her entire philosophy. In this family, there are predators and there are prey. You, with your little paintings and your quiet feelings, are prey. I am a predator, and I will do whatever it takes to secure my position. Your grandfather's fortune will go to Ethan, and I will be the one to ensure it. You are a loose end, and I intend to tie you up. The recorder in my pocket had captured every single damning word. Which brings us back to the trial. Laura gave a heartbreaking, tearful performance, describing her devastation at my betrayal. My brother testified against me, his voice thick with the sorrow that was, to my horror, completely genuine. He truly believed his wife. When it was my turn to speak, I didn't offer a defense. I didn't plead. I simply stood up. "Grandfather," I said, my voice steady, "I have only one piece of evidence to present." I took out my phone and placed it on the polished desk. This is a recording of a conversation I had with Laura 2 weeks ago. I believe it will provide some context. I pressed play. Laura's cold, clear voice filled the dead silent study. "In this family, there are predators and there are prey. You, with your little paintings and your quiet feelings, are prey. I am a predator, and I will do whatever it takes to secure my position. Your grandfather's fortune will go to Ethan, and I will be the one to ensure it. You are a loose end, and I intend to tie you up." The color drained from my brother's face. He stared at his wife as if seeing a monster for the first time. My grandfather's expression hardened from disappointment to a cold, focused rage. The recording continued. "You are a loose end, and I intend to tie you up." When the recording finished, the silence was absolute. Laura was just sitting there, her perfect tearful mask shattered, revealing the ugly, naked ambition beneath. She tried to speak, to deny, to lie, but no words came out. My grandfather stood up, his voice a low, dangerous growl. "Get out," he said, his voice trembling with fury. He wasn't looking at me. He was looking at Laura. "Ethan," my grandfather continued, his voice like ice, "if this woman is not out of this house and out of your life by the end of the day, you will follow her. You have brought a viper into my home, and you were too blind to see it." I watched as my brother, his entire world crumbling around him, finally looked at his wife and saw the truth. He had chosen the predator, and she had just led him off a cliff. She had tried to frame me to secure a fortune. Instead, she had been undone by her own words, and her punishment was to be left with the one thing she had never wanted: nothing.